because I've earned that trust. So
I wanted to kind of back up a little bit. You got into the business in 02, obviously after everything that happened, 9/11, and then leading up to 08. How did you get started with building your business? Was it all sphere of influence? Was there direct mailers? Was it everything?
I didn't do any of that.
What?
I just took cold. Back in the day, people called the main line. You don't have cell phones. So you just sit at the office and take calls. And because I processed and we used the same phone system, I was there all day just taking calls.
Yeah.
And they called off signs. And that's the thing. Everyone who's starting now, I feel bad because back then they called off the sign. It came straight to your office. Like there wasn't Zillow, there wasn't Realtor, there wasn't any of that stuff. So it was a lot easier for me to build a clientele because it was immediate capture. To that office. So, I mean, it grew pretty quick. And also I'm based out of Marysville where we have Honda, Scott's, Nestle. Back then it was the Goodyear plant. So basically people would come in and they say, oh, I want to be within 45 minutes of Honda. Yeah. Well, so that's 6 counties. You just stay busy and you sell one new engineer a house and you get all the rest, or,
Yeah.
So it was hard at first.
We had to get good at phone skills. I mean, even taking a call, off of a sign, like it's just not a give me lead.
It isn't. And it's also, I think, a lot about my personality. I'm like, I bust their chops usually right away. And I'm like, okay, I put that sign up 5 minutes ago. Look at you. So they immediately are, but that's just my personality. I don't do it on purpose. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
And I still do that to this day. Like if I get a Zillow or a realtor.com lead, there's no auto response. I text them and I'm like, I'm sure I'm the 1900th person to message you. Like I make it funny. So
I coach agents all the time on finding pillars of their business. So like I coach on pillars, right? Like, internet leads, open houses, direct mail, sphere of influence, social media, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. They all work in my opinion.
Right.
It's just which ones are you going to be consistent at? And to your point of your personality shining through and that's a way for you to kind of, break the ice and build rapport right away. There's some agents that are better suited based on their personality. Like I'm sure you would thrive in an open house situation. I'm sure you would thrive.
I actually don't.
You don't?
I hate open houses.
I hate them, but I'm sure you
hate them. No, because I don't care if I get their information. I am a very much, listen, I'm good at my job. There are my reviews out there. If you want to work with me, here's my info.
Yeah. And
I don't seek people out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never have ever.
Yeah. The reason why I think that would be because you would leave a lasting impression to where you wouldn't need to capture their information, right? Your card would probably justify and be like, man, I walked in that door and, Katie was awesome. She stood out. Like me, I sucked at them. Like it just didn't work. Like what worked for me was internet leads, right? Like just for me, it was internet leads. That's how I built my business. And I think, getting to the point where, you getting the calls, that allowed your personality to show through right on the, first 5 seconds.
Well, and I think the thing where the internet leads are helpful for the way I'm diversified is I have the mortgage company and I have a property management company. So my philosophy is I don't sell houses. I help people solve problems.
Yeah.
People know if you're selling them, they know it and they don't appreciate it, but they love it if you're just helping them. Like, let me just help. Like I just because you called me to put a sign in the yard doesn't mean you should put a sign in the yard.
Yep.
So let's talk about it. Why am I here? Let me listen for a while. And another thing my mom always used to say is if your mouth is open, your ears are closed. So just sitting and listening so that you can appropriately diagnose the problem. So the internet leads, half the time they're like, will they rent to own? Well, why do you think you need to rent to own? Would you like to talk to one of my loan officers just to get your bearings to see if, or because they don't know. First-time home buyers are my favorite. They're my favorite. And I know other people hate them, but I get to be helpful.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing. It's my favorite. And I know all those jokes about parents coming to the inspections and doing all this kind of stuff, but guess whose phone number I get and whose balls I bust immediately. You have to
Yeah.
figure out who the decision makers are. And if it's the parents, they need to trust me as much as those people do. So they're in on everything. So, I just love my first time home buyers because I get to feel helpful.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's finding your ideal client, right?
Right.
Is it an investor? Is it first time home buyers? Is it move down, sellers or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
So going through '08,
Yeah.
you know,
Everyone's like, would you prefer the crash or now? And I'm like, well, they're just both different. You have to be creative in different ways. And back then it was how do I get in the property? You would walk up the sidewalk and be like, it smells like carcass, or that's piss. Before
yeah,
you even got to the door, you're like, oh, that's moldy basement, or oh, this is moldy first floor. You could tell before you even got inside. I used to have to keep chest high waiters in my car.
oh
There
yeah,
was one house we got there and I went to open the basement stairs and the water was to the top step.
yeah. I got in 11, so I got the tail end of some of that stuff. But with Ryan, he was selling off REOs for a bank, and that's how I cut my teeth. So
Yeah.
the
It's in
mold.
2000. The most interesting time there was during the transition when it's not in the media, when people don't know what's happening except the agents. If I'm sure everyone talks about this, but if you've seen The Big Short, that period when they're like, this can't be real. Steve Carell, this can't be real. Well, all of us going through that in the industry, we were the ones who knew it was happening. And boy, I got escorted 2006, early 2007. I was physically removed from people's homes because they were so pissed off at the numbers I was telling them, because it wasn't in the media. It wasn't anywhere. So the same as now. So people know they have to have appraisal gap or have to, do all this kind of stuff. It was the inverse of that back then. You knew you had to get the have a generator to try to get the electric on yourself, or how do we get, everyone was USDA or FHA. They didn't have to have the down payment. So how do we get all these properties to pass? You had everyone coming in when you were going to get the power on, and everyone stood in a different room of the house. So when the water went on, if you had a leak in your room, you were like, got it, turn it off. So you knew where to cut and to get, that was the kind of stuff that was going on, because the banks now, they don't let you get in and do stuff. Back then, the banks, they didn't have a clue what was happening. But you could have remodeled the whole damn thing before you got your deed. Again, it's up to you if you're going to work on something you don't own yet. But, we were just, how do you get the water out of here? How do you get the mushrooms growing out of the drywall out of here so you can get the loan done?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where as long as the buyers are informed, people now are like, oh, well, we're buying as is, or we're doing this. I'm like, I was telling people, as long as they knew there was mushrooms and mold, people bought it back then at 6.25%.
Yeah.
Interest rate.
Yeah.
So, it's just adapting and working through it. And then once it hit the media, it definitely was easier. You could go to someone's house and they're like, all right, tell me how bad it is.
Yeah.
So it definitely made a transition, but you still sell, you still work through it, you still get creative, you still solve the problem. I like to say our industry is very much like the movie The Martian, where he's like, solve the problem, and then you move to the next problem, and then you move to the next problem until you're closed, you're done. And even then you're not done.
Yeah.
You're the problem solver in perpetuity for those people if you want to retain them as clients.
And always, for me, it's always be willing to pivot, right? Just don't
think outside the box,
Yeah, don't be so headstrong and you built your business this way for the past 5 years and think that it's going to be that way for the next 10. You don't know that.
Well, and I think if you build that reputation of just that you are trustworthy and you're going to do what's in their best interest, the business will come regardless of what market is and what's going on and what's happening and all that kind of stuff. And I always like to say, if the moment you make it about yourself, you just quit doing your job, because none of what we do is about us. It's about our clients. It's about their needs, what's best for them. The second you worry about that paycheck at the closing, you literally just quit doing your job.
Yeah.
So, just being helpful.
For sure.